Box a 9mm what?
Ammo.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for.
That little box right
There
there,
you go.
little brown box on the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have a bullet?
That's
I
a-
don't have a gun.
That's a 9mm ammo box.
All right, I'm over here now. So I
There we
need
go. Festive ass background.
with my sexy face on it, right?
That is
Let's
pretty
see
festive.
that
I'm not gonna lie.
sexy face.
Hold on. Get this hood off this too.
Yo, so legit. Chris has my Roshi shirt and my
I
Under
have-
Armour
I-
shorts, and
I have them.
apparently, oh, you have them. You have them.
Yeah.
I apparently got a fill-in jersey in exchange. So I was like, that's not a bad trade. I'll take that.
Oh, so
I-
that was
yeah,
your
I
my
have-
name
Roshi
or anything on
shirt.
the back, but
I have your shorts and your shirt, so I'll send them
Well,
in the mail.
I was
somehow.
gonna tell you not to sniff the shorts, but they probably smell like Chris, so you're definitely
Yeah, it's
not wanting to do
okay.
that now.
He can sniff away. That's what we literally saw it on under the TV. We're like, oh fuck, Chris left this thing, and now we're finding out it's yours. That's even better. It's just
It's funny because like I
the
have them
cosmos
like in my hallway, so like I don't get them confused with my stuff. And my wife like grabbed them, or was like, "These aren't your shorts. Where the fuck did you get these shorts?" I'm like, "Oh, well that's Craig's stuff. That's Craig's stuff. Who let Chris borrow them?" And she's like,
she's like, what?
As long as they're not another woman's underwear that she's finding, you're fine.
"Oh yeah, 100%."
that's the excuse. You just anytime you get in that situation, it's Chris. Hey, he's borrowing it from Craig. That's
That's
what's going on here.
Yeah.
Roll
I'll have
over,
a mail. I'll have them mailed out soon.
All right, so
Well, we ready to rock
let's
and
kick
roll
this
then?
shit off.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody to Team Talk number 10. I know we had a week off. This is because we were at Nats, and that's what our whole Team Talk is going to be about today. It's going to be about something a little different. We're going to be going over the judges' POV of the tournament and how it felt being in the judges' seat because, they had to work their asses off, and they got probably, what 7 hours of sleep the entire weekend? If they were lucky between the 3 days? Yeah. That's because they were, by the time we got out, you guys probably got out, 1 a.m. on the Saturday and came back in, 7 a.m.? Like, ridiculous. And that's to get in and start working already. So it was definitely a pain in the ass. And that's what we're here to talk to them about. So let's just start off with how everything started Friday. I'm assuming, did you guys do any prep Thursday or anything, or was everything kind of starting on Friday when the side events and all that stuff was going on?
Everything was Friday.
Everything was Friday.
Saturday, Thursday was just people arriving and getting set up. Enjoying the life that was Orlando, right?
It's true.
Pretty much. I flew in, landed
I
at
didn't
like
get
9
called
a.m.
to work until Saturday, so
Yeah, I ended up doing. I think I flew in. I landed at like 9 a.m. on Thursday, and then I kind of just hung out really all day Thursday. Relaxed for the most part. Kind of just settled in, and then me and Brian and a bunch of others got called in to work for the LCQs and everything like that on, and the side events for Friday.
Yeah, so we'll start with Friday then. So Friday, where there was how many LCQs? What, 68? It was something ridiculous where there was a ridiculous amount of LCQs, and I'm assuming all three of you ran separate LCQs then? Like each one of you had the chance to do? No? Okay, let's hear it.
I didn't work Friday at all.
Didn't work Friday at all. Okay,
I got to enjoy the day off.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so
not fair enough. Not fair enough.
Fair enough for him.
Yeah, so I ran I couldn't even tell you how many LCQs I ran, honestly. My dog wants to bother me now. Me and Cameron, we ran LCQs next to each other, and I think on the other side, I think Brian, it was you and Yomi on the other side.
It was me, Yomi, and Dahan.
And Dahan?
And Dahan,
Yeah.
that's right. And then
So with that, just to put this out, I do got to give props to Charles on this because Charles and Cam, they didn't realize this, but they had the A section, and then the three of us had the B section. So essentially, every odd numbered LCQ they were swapping, whereas every even number, the three of us were splitting up. So he did about 50% more than him and Cam did 50% more than what Dahan and Yomi and I did. Because they got all the odd numbers split between the two of them.
So it was 5 LCQ judges for Friday then between those 68 Jeez, That is a lot because it's what eight people per pod, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're
And
doing
then if you lost and you didn't win, you were able to re-sign up as long as you wanted to spend the money and go into the next one right away. So I know one of my locals from here out in Kansas City ended up for some reason playing a deck that he wasn't familiar with the whole entire day until the very last LCQ he was able to participate in. So he played a deck he was comfortable with until the very last round and ended up not earning an invite. So he spent all that money and all that time throughout the whole entire day, which is extremely frustrating. But he kind of tilted himself into it after losing 3 or 4 in a row, and then he kept playing that same deck instead of listening to all the buddies from the locals that were there, and then just playing something that he's been known to play for a while and going into that deck just because it was the meta call. Because he was playing Sin, he was playing Red Sin, and it's not usually the color he goes with, but it was the the go-to one of the go-to colors and one of the go-to decks to play for the meta. So he kind of stuck with it, and I guess he kind of expected it to carry him through the LCQ, but it obviously didn't. And he was just, I guess, having poor matchups the whole entire day, like running into blue. Like the very first round, he walked into blue like every single LCQ the very first round, and he's just getting just stomped the whole entire evening. And that sucked because they're your buddies from your locals, so you want to see them succeed, but at the same time, it's like you should have known to switch decks like 6 hours ago.
Jeez. So like what so was that the most you've seen someone join an LCQ, or is there someone you've seen like you think like 10 LCQs, like someone crank out $100 and finally
No,
get their
there was a
win?
guy that I heard that started. There was a guy that I heard that started like on the first LCQ or second LCQ, and he didn't get his invite until literally like number 68 fired or 67 fired. Like, yeah,
Jeez.
he played. He spent 100 and something bucks playing in LCQs to finally get one.
At
I
least he got one.
I was
I mean,
gonna say,
that's
yeah, that's
Right, right. I mean, realistically, like,
I just
yeah,
give him the mental fortitude to last that long without just saying fuck it. I'm
yeah.
just walking home at this point. I don't even give a shit. I already spent $100. I'm out of here.
I
Fuck
mean,
this.
if you look at it, if you'd have waited until Nats to just try and grind out an invite, right? $110 or $120, right? Let's just say that's less than what most people spent on one trip to travel to somewhere for a regional or some kind of larger store championship to get an invite. So, it all works out.
Especially if they're a local player, they really didn't spend that much money to travel either. And the Orlando and Florida local scene has some heavy high end players, so it's kind of easier if you're not as good of a player to beat like people like Andrew Duvall or people like that. You might not be able to win the store championships and earn your invite and stuff like that. So LCQs might be the better option for you.
That's true too, because I don't
I liked
like.
how they put a thing. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, go on, go on. This is for the judges. I just had a brain blast coming from being from
Oh,
Canada. I'm just like literally the whole thing with LCQs. Like obviously in my head, flying down there and all of that is like it's obviously not cheap. So going for an LCQ and spending another $100 and then not going through, like I just lose my mind. Like I wouldn't take that risk. But obviously I don't think about it as someone locally, where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna drive down half an hour, maybe hour max, and then just be like, let's see if we can get it or not, right? And especially in Florida, like you have Andrew Duvall, that's his home state running around there. So it might not be too easy getting a store championship or getting what, top 16 at a regional, I think was, or top 8 to get your invite. I can't remember. Beer, that's how you got yours right at the beginning of the year. I don't remember what.
Me?
Yeah, what was it? Top 8 or top 16?
Top 16 get the invite. I got third in that first
Yeah,
regional, and I just didn't give a shit.
I know. But Craig, what were you going on off that there?
Oh no! So I liked how Bandai set it up to where, and the TO set it up to where, like they were telling people that if you're trying to sign up, kind of give your buddy a boost, but you already had your invite, they were going to drop you.
Mhm.
I just don't know why with so many random, especially like young ladies out there, you just round up a bunch of them and like 7 of them say, "Hey, look, I'm going to go pay the 7 of you guys to enter if you don't mind, and then I'm going to be the 8th person as everybody scoops to you to get that win." Like I'm surprised there wasn't more of that running around, but I think people were actually really worried about just getting that hammer on them, which was really good. I think they put the fear of God in them. So, because Thomas was sitting up there just telling everybody as soon as they were coming in, they was like, mask, sign up on the line. If you have a Nats invite, don't sign up for an LCQ or they're going to kick you. And people were just like, you see the deer in headlights look.
Which is
Yeah.
good. That's good for the people that are actually going there for LCQs and paying those multiple entries to get in, right? Not having someone just literally win their way by buying out all the seats and just like, okay, I paid $80, I'm guaranteed in, right? Go on, beer.
Kevin mentioned that one guy, when he was going through the LCQs, apparently one of the rounds, some guy came in and he's like, "Hey, I'll give you all $15 each if you just give me the win." And everyone's like, "Fuck off."
No, which you should do. Honestly, you should have just called the judge at that point. Just be like, I got a
I'm
free win against
surprised
this
that we
guy.
didn't get a lot more reports about that stuff, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't
There were-
hear any stories about that until afterwards.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that like you hear on the low, and like you don't know how much of it's true, because a lot of times people have really big mouths, and we hear about it pretty quickly.
No, it's true. We know Kevin went through definitely a couple of those switching up decks and stuff. So I know there was one of them where he's just like, yeah, everyone at the tables just fuck that. So that's obviously a big no-no that scared most of the people that you were talking about, which is a good thing. We want people to legitimately get their invites. If it's going to be LCQ, then it's going to be LCQ, right? But
And we didn't really. I mean, the judges it was nonstop, so we didn't even have time to process reports like that. It was fire and go, fire and go.
Yeah.
because they were just all back to back, right? Like you guys were doing it for
Mhm.
how many hours was that in total to get all those LCQs done?
Well, we were the ones of us
Uh,
that worked Friday. It was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Jeez.
Well, maybe a little after 8. It was over 12 hours on Friday.
And
yeah,
that-
my last LCQ, who it actually just so happened to have the buddy that I had from my locals. It ended, I think it was 7:45. Was the final, like the finals for it, where I handed out the 400 points or whatever that PPG was giving out and told the guy to go up front and go get his invite. It was like 7:45, 7:30 at night, something
Really?
like that.
And it was like
Yeah,
right
it
on
was.
8 p.m. Like sorry, 8 a.m. Right on. You got into LCQ 1.
No,
Yeah,
we had to get there. We had to get there at 8 a.m. to set up. Like
Yeah.
Okay,
all of
fair
those
enough.
days.
Fair enough.
Like so, we our first couple of hours of Friday were setting up the banners, building the banners, moving them around, putting table numbers on, getting it ready so that when players walked in,
Yeah.
we had a plan, we had everything way to go, and we could start funneling people to the right place.
Yeah, I think LCQ started, if
You're
I
doing the
remember
PPG
correctly, at
grunt work?
11. Yeah,
Yeah. 11 a.m. is when we started firing events.
That's still
and
ridiculous
then
to be judging matches
yeah.
for that long and just be like, I've seen the same guy 6 times and he doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing with this
Yep.
meter. Like, come on, like you'd start
It got
losing
to
your mind.
it got to the point where I actually knew this dude's first name by heart, to where I saw him Saturday morning and he came in and he dropped his lighter and I called him by his first name. I was like, "Hey, Mason." I still remember his name, obviously. I was like, "Hey, you dropped your lighter." He turns around and he goes, "Jesus Christ, I was in LCQs that fucking long that you remember my first name."
At
I
least
was
he
like,
knows.
I was like, "I'm sorry, dude." I was just like, it was a shot in the dark, and obviously I pulled the trigger and I got it right. Like, I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you look bad or anything like that."
Yeah, I would say the last 3 or 4 pods easy that I ran, it was all familiar names and faces.
Yeah. It got to the point where you just stop giving your spiel and you just look at them and you're like, "You guys have been here before. I'm not talking anymore. Just start your games and just go."
Yeah, that's another thing. Saying the spiel
While you
again.
guys were doing the main event Saturday and Sunday, that's how it was in the those little 8-man like gunslinger pods.
Gunslingers?
That's how it
Oof.
was. Dude, that's all I was doing. It was just like, all right, guys, here's your stuff. Go. I'll come back to you in 30 minutes. Call me if you need me.
Yep.
No, yeah, that was kind of. I played one Gunslinger Sunday because I didn't end up signing up for Zenkai. I was like, they ran out of prizing. I definitely should have because that was a long ass time for that Zenkai event. But playing one of the Gunslingers, the judge, it was like, I don't know what number Gunslinger. Just like, yeah, you guys know what's going on? Okay, good. Here you go. And it was just like, I'm like, yeah, I completely understand. It's definitely saying the same spiel 30, 40, 50 times that day where it's just like, just go, man. Please. Tell me who wins.
Pretty much.
But Friday, you guys also had Team Wars. I'm assuming since you guys were doing LCQs, you guys weren't doing the Team Wars. I know Craig played in the Team Wars as well. And then, so what, it was Team Wars, Gunslinger, and LCQ were the three things going on the Friday, right?
Yeah, it was the major gunslinger. I want to say was the second event of the afternoon, and they did the 3v3 first. David Fashbinder, he ran those pretty much by himself. They don't require much. Like they don't require too many judges to sit around and stare over there. But it was what they say it was 60 teams in the Team Wars, something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
60 teams, so
Yeah,
3 people
it
per
was some
team. It's like
crazy
180
number,
people.
and then like 120, 150, something like that in the gunslinger in the afternoon,
Yeah.
evening, whatever it was. It was a lot of people participating. So a lot of people got to turn cardboard sideways. I think it's one of the reasons that this Nats was one of the best we've ever had, if not the best. Just from the amount of people, like the amount of cards that got turned sideways it was astronomical.
Yeah, it was definitely on a whole nother spectrum compared to last year's Nats. We all three of us judged last year's Nats. We were all on the same team, doing it last year, and it blows last year's out of the water. It pales in comparison. Phenomenal.
As far as size,
Sheer
number of
size and
people, number of matches. Yeah.
absolutely. It was so much. The amount of work we put in as judges was severely overshadows last year, but the the amount of people that showed up severely overshadows last year. Like, just overall everything in general just overshadows. There was no side event. I mean, there was one side event last year. It was the Unison Warrior block.
It was on Sunday too, so it was
Yeah, exactly. So it
wasn't
was
that
like
big of a deal.
exactly. So like this year we
Well,
had 3 side
technically,
events each day.
there was two events, side events last year, because there was the Unison Warrior one, and then there was the online Unison Warrior one for the people that couldn't make it to Nats.
Oh yeah,
That
okay,
doesn't
that's
count.
right. That's right,
It
because you were
does if
sitting in
you had to work it.
yeah, that's
If
right,
you
because
had
you
to
were
work
sitting
it, it
behind
counted.
you were sitting behind the curtain doing that shit with shitty internet. That's right, I remember that.
Y'all had gone home from the freaking Nats last year. You're like, we're out. See y'all later. See you next when we see you. And there I am, still working on the computer, running that
You got to
silly
sit
event.
down. You got to sit down for like the 30% of that day. The rest of us were walking around.
I'm sitting here hobbling around,
It
leaning in a
was
wheelchair.
Nats. You weren't walking. I mean, it was the Unison Cup. You weren't walking
No.
around that much.
So did they even do
Oh, we
LCQs
were,
last
sir.
Nats?
We were.
No,
No,
there
there
was
was
no LCQs
No
last year.
LCQs
we
at
were
all.
still pretty, especially with Bandai being a lot more
COVID conscious.
concerned COVID conscious. There was definitely, it was like, if you don't have your invite, you're not even
Well,
allowed
they also had
in their
more.
area.
That's true. I do remember that.
You had more. You had more events last year too. I mean, there was a big, huge TO issue with one of the TOs. We won't mention names. Most people know, but like you had each local game store had 3 championships, right? So each local game store was giving out 3 invites. They gave out all the invites for the millions of online events that we had. Like, I mean, there were just so many ways that people could get an invite to Nats last year that it overshadowed this year's amount of invites by far. So, it, you know,
It was the
like I
thing
wish
too,
more
right?
people would have showed up. COVID was a thing.
It was double invites, right? Because that was the year where they did the invites from the year prior too, right?
Yeah, they carried over from
That's true.
2020 when we didn't have one. But it was still, I think, I want to say I know there was less than 500 last year. Like less than.
Oh, there was
500
less than
total.
500 easily
I think
because
it was
they
like
said that
420,
you don't have to
430.
travel to get your prize support.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like 525, 424, 430, somewhere in there, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, no side events. It was a much more intimate affair.
I'm glad this one that they didn't do the prizing for the people
Brian,
that
with
did show
you,
up.
I'm glad it's intimate.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't do the prizing for people that showed up. Obviously, that incentivizes more people to come and actually play, just for obviously to get participation and then a chance to get your top prizing and stuff like that. But this is obviously the first Nats I've ever been to, and it was, I think, ran very smoothly. Congrats on the judges' parts for that. I know you guys were breaking your asses to get everything to go in order, and you heard at the beginning of every goddamn round there was some asshole as soon as the timer starts, judge. So we'll move on to Saturday. How was that? This is obviously the drag out day. This is the day that you guys put the most work in because being from the player side and the whole venue with the concession bullshit and all that. I know that definitely wore on you guys more because you guys had to be there earlier and later. So let's hear it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just time wise,
17 clocked hours.
Yeah, 7 a.m. we had to report, and we clocked out just after midnight. So it was 17 straight hours of being on the clock with. I think we did. I got one like 40-minute break, I think.
Something like that, 30,
Yep.
40 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and
if
that was
Yeah,
really
mine
it.
was
It was like
mine was like right at 30. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 30, 40, something like that. It was a long day. I felt like personally, it went like super smooth. Outside of the one time issue, which I don't blame anyone for the end of round early kind of situation where it messed up several people. But it was the kind of thing because I know in the app, I don't know how many people experienced it, but if you like went to look at something from the previous round and then you came back to this round, it would the clock would hold the triple zeros from the previous round. It wouldn't like it didn't always update everything, so it was an honest mistake that happened. I understand for a lot of people,
I'm
it
allowed to
messed
blame
up.
Cam.
It's yeah, I'm not gonna throw anyone under the bus. But it's it messed up some people. But I'll tell you this, like one, it was the only hiccup I felt like, and two, I feel like for the most part, players recovered and moved on. They're
Yeah,
like,
they complained
like
for maybe 15,
yeah,
20 minutes, and then they kind of just dropped off like it was
yeah.
nothing, and people forgot about it.
I know. The players that came to me complaining, all I could tell them was like, I know it was screwed up. We fucked up. There's nothing we can do to fix that situation now. We just got to
Yeah,
own it as a fuck up as a judge team and move on.
yeah.
From being
And I
one
mean,
fuck up, right? That's pretty good for those 17 goddamn hours, right? So I
yeah,
take that as a
for a
huge
9 round
win.
event, that ran from what round one started at 8 a.m. and lasted until 12:30,
10 a.m.
and
10 a.m.
10 a.m. and lasted until 12:30. 9 rounds, and there was only one mess up. I mean that's pretty good. I mean, I'm just saying I wouldn't be too messed up about it.
So
I mean, and if you think about like past years, like pre, I honestly don't remember, but like I do know from before I was a judge, like I remember people getting disqualified from nationals, like having major cheating kind of issues out there. I didn't hear of um, anything happen this year. Like like the players did their thing, played their games. Uh, I won't make any comments. I could make a few jokes
Yeah,
about it. Um, but it was I mean I thought it was long, but it was a great it was a great fun experience.
going in with that, what was the, let's say the like most petty judge call? Like if someone beginning a round like just bullshit where you're just like, come on, just like you couldn't solve this yourselves. Like, come on, just be adults here.
No, no, no.
I don't think
Day
there was
doesn't
really a
matter.
petty call that I had. It was oop,
I was gonna say not I'm not gonna say the day because which day it happened, but I definitely had a rules lawyer that I was like, wow, you know the intention here, and you're gonna hit him on that little issue. And it was one where it was a red sin player, and he what was it? It was something where he's got no wait, was it red sin or blue crimson? Oh, it was blue crimson. It was a crimson. It was a crimson warrior player where the leader says I don't actually make I don't remember what leader it was, but it's something where you take up to one life and then you draw a card, and the player was like activate a skill. I think it was a red sin, and he like and what he did is he went and he grabbed the draw first, and then he went to grab the life, and the guy's like no, you
That's
already drew.
crimson. That's crimson.
Okay, it is
It's
crimson. Yeah,
out of one life
yeah.
draw.
Yeah, so it was that's what exactly what it is, Crimson. So he went and he's like, he grabs the lot, he draws first, and the dude was like, no, you drew. And he's like, okay. He's like, yeah. So that means because you have to resolve the skill in order, you chose 0 for an for taking up to 1 life. So he didn't let him take the life, but
I
he'd
mean,
already
we
taken it. So I had to reveal it to the opponent and then shuffle and issue a warning, because technically it was right. But I mean, it's the kind of thing where you're reaching in 2 different spaces and you just happen to grab the one first and the other one. It's I don't think I felt, obviously, letter of the law, he was correct.
Mhm.
Spirit of the game, I think it was a little petty.
I get it if he drew and looked at the card. Like if he looked at the card and didn't just like draw, put it in, and like just mindlessly doing it. Like I can get it where it's like, oh, you drew this card and it wasn't good enough. You're gonna look at your life. Like I get
But
that,
not
but yeah, no, same way, spirit of the game kind of thing, right?
Yeah, this was not like, ooh, let me look at it and decide. This was, he grabbed with one hand and then grabbed with the other. He went right hand to the deck, left hand to the life, and the guy's like, you drew first, so no.
what were you gonna say, Craig?
Oh no, Cam and I had a call probably round 8ish. I think it was like round 8. At one of the top tables. I'm not going to name players' names or anything like that. But they were both playing blue. And player A, which was on the attack in time, and overtime was called, so they get the final attack going. Player B responds in the combo step, does something, and either rivals or players that would bounce the attacker or had the option to bounce the attacker back to just end the combat, end the game. He would have won because he had more life. And the battlefield was a cluster, right? Like the guy went all in, player A went all in, balls in, laid all of his combo cards out because it was going to be that one card to finish the game, right? And then he tried to keep saying that player B pointed at this card over here, pointed at this card over here, somewhere farther out into the battlefield. And it was just like, you have all of these cards laid on top of the battle card that's attacking. This card can clearly interact with this card here. Like the intention is that he was going to bounce this card. However, your game state is not in a clean, visible way, so it's hard to target the card that you have underneath all of your battle cards. So it was one of those ones that we knew the intention. Like it was like those people that rules monger people on the double strike Kai when they're swinging in with 2 life, right? Like the intention was, I'm going to give this double strike. You're going to die. So
Yeah.
just it was that was the only real one. Most of the judge calls were pretty simple rules. There were some things in time where, again, because the time rules change a little bit here and there, and then we had just added in the time rule of play if somebody declares their final attack and it can change the game. We allow that attack to go through. That got kind of loopy for the first round or two. So,
Yeah, I think for
but yeah,
me
most
the
of them.
only
Oh, and to point out for most people. Never mind. Sorry.
No, go on,
no,
go
go
on,
ahead,
go
keep
on.
going, keep going.
No, mine was just so that people understand if they do watch this, right? The 8-drop red sin, his interaction with unisons is not 2 separate triggers. Like this is one that we had to go over multiple times with Ben. He literally, because it's a unison, and the way the rules state is going to just be one big neg to the unison,
So
and
there's
not
one
2
marker.
separate triggers. So you won't get to minus unison twice. Yeah, it'll just lose one. But if it was a battle card, right, you would get your 2 options.
Fair,
Wait,
fair.
really?
Sorry. Yeah.
That's a thing?
Another reason to run cooler unison, baby. I told
There's
you.
there was some, like, because I kept fighting it as well because all the practicing we did was like, no, because it checks however many Z energy you have for the first trigger, right? And then the second trigger is if your leader's a Z leader, it gives minus 20, minus 3, whichever the part is.
-30.
30.
But a unison, there's some clause in the unisons where they will only get checked once for that ability because it's hell, I'd have to go actually pull the rule book and. But
I didn't
yeah,
even know
the
that.
the ruling on it is that against
I
a
think it's because
unison,
of the
it triggers
checkpoint.
one time for one big neg. Though there's no actual checkpoint in it against a unison.
Hmm.
So there's no
Okay.
there's no checkpoint in there for it to say, like, if the -3 times whatever, if it's, let's
Yeah,
say it's
and it's not on the
5.
battle card. It's not the battle
Yeah,
card's ability. It's a rules interpretation of the
yeah.
unison card.
So what's happening? Just
So
I
if you're
think I get
watching
it.
this, there's a
Yeah, when you do the minus for the number of Z energy and it goes below 0, well, there's no checkpoint for it to reset right there. So it has to finish the rest of the skill first to do the -30, which then would get applied to the same unison which just takes it further down. Then it would
That's
have the checkpoint to
that's what I was
reset
talking
its.
about.
Yeah,
That's what I was
that's
talking
when it
about.
would
There's
have.
no checkpoint in the middle of the skill. The whole skill has
Yep.
to resolve before the checkpoint happens.
Huh.
That's what I was meaning by when I mentioned checkpoint.
That's
That makes
really
That's a
sense.
cool.
big deal.
That's
That's a
I
big deal.
No, no.
I learned
Well,
that.
no. So
Damn.
the unison will still do the checkpoint against battle cards. They will still do the checkpoint against battle cards, right? It won't do it against because so say you're doing the unison or the 8-drop versus another 8-drop, right? So the 8-drop versus another 8-drop will trigger the first part of it to give the 8-drop a negative effect. Well, that negative effect will apply to the 8-drop and give it the plus 5k, right? Thus nullifying it out. Then the second part will trigger on the 8-drop, giving the 8-drop the minus 30k, making it a 5k. However, against the
Well,
unison, the way that the
that's
unison
completely
ruling
different
is
though.
worded.
That's completely different in the 8-drop versus the 8-drop because that has to do with the fact that it's a permanent on the other 8-drop, so that
Right, but
it
most
interrupts that.
people are applying the reason that there's two windows for it,
Yeah.
right, is because of its interaction with the 8-drop. But there's only one actual window for a unison.
That
I'd
makes
have to
sense.
find, like I said, I'd have to go
That's
find the
because of the
actual.
unison,
Right.
right?
It's
The
because
part
Yes,
of it
it's
is
not the
specifically
battle card
unison.
itself. It's because of the
Just
unison's rulings.
unison ruling.
Well,
So if you're doing it, future reference now, if you're gonna do it, you might as well hit the unison and a battle card because you're not gonna take 2 markers off that unison.
That's a
And-
very
and-
big deal, though.
That
And
is.
actually, the easiest way to explain it would be this: when that 8-drop sin activates its skill, you have to resolve the entire skill before anything else happens. So the only time it's different is against the 8-drops, against another 8-drop sin, because the other 8-drop sin has a permanent which is always live, so that as soon as that first -3 times whatever gets applied, boom, -5, it gets the +5. Additionally, the 30 because the permanent was already active. But
Yeah.
every other situation like that, it's the skill has to resolve in full before you do
Yeah.
anything with it, with anything
Yeah,
else.
that makes
Yeah.
sense because what is it? Activate mains in battles. Do not use interruptive rulings. You have to
Correct.
finish it. Other shit
Correct.
happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
I learned something. That's awesome.
Hey, winning.
Yeah, there you go. They see this is good judge chat there.
Yeah, so
you know?
it's not a checkpoint thing. It's a yeah,
Okay.
exactly
It's
what.
the rules.
Yep,
Mm.
I think
the rule book.
for me, it happened to me twice actually, and one of them I kind of just like ruled on a whim and just said, you know what, it's the rules and I'm just sticking with it. One of them, and then the second one I kind of like gave more leeway and like really read into the situation and like I think Jason was there with me, and me and him kind of like picked it apart and then kind of ruled it in a more lenient way. But it was turn 1 of the game. Player was not on draw, so he was like the very first turn player, and he drew his 6 cards. He mulliganed. He was about to start. He charged his energy, and he was about to do something, and then his opponent called a judge over. Was like, my opponent didn't set his life. No
Mm.
cards were drawn. No nothing. I'm like, okay, well, the very first time this happened, I was like, all right, well, life's not set. That's game. Go into the next round or whatever, reset. I didn't really look at this situation. I kind of just was like, life's not set. Like I didn't look if he was second player. I didn't really look into it. I kind of just jumped and essentially to conclusions and was like, okay, life's not set. I didn't really look if he was on draw. I didn't see if he drew into anything. I didn't see if energy was charged. I didn't see if shit was drawn. I didn't see anything like that. I kind of just said, oh, life's not set. That's game. Like, go to the next one. The second time it happened, Jason was nearby, and we visually saw, okay, he's the first player of the turn, or he's the first player of the game. He's the start of the game. No cards were drawn. He just set his life. His opponent's already trying to say, okay, well, he didn't set his life. Like, nothing has happened. The kid has 5 cards in hand. He has 1 energy down. No battle cards on board. Nothing in drop. Nothing in warp. 5 cards in hand. Nothing was done except for setting an energy. We're like, okay, you have a warning. Set your life next game, or you're going to get a game loss. Take the top 8 cards of your deck and put them in your life. Don't do it again. Like, it's that simple. Like, that was probably like the most annoying like rules like lawyering type thing that I've gotten, and then like the stupid questions where like, oh, is deflect active in the battle area? Like, bro, you have an invite to nationals, and you're asking me if deflect is active in the battle area. Like, just stop.
Is
I'm
it
not. I'm not.
affected by counterplay skills?
I'm not answering this question. I'm walking
So
away.
to go back, that's one thing that I would love for players to recognize a little more of is technically in the first one where Charles said, "Oh, that's a game loss." That's the rule book. That's letter of the
Yes.
law. That is the exact right thing to do. However, as judges, sometimes we do what he did in the second one with Jason, which is we try to look at the situation and recognize both players have spent money to be at nationals, however they got there. They're looking to have a great playing experience, and most of all, like what the judges want is we want games to be decided by a player playing another player.
Yeah.
We want players to decide it by playing each other out, and if we can do things to help facilitate that, then we're going to do that as long as we do it consistently throughout the entire event.
Yeah. And then that's something I noticed too is a player who just so happened to call the judge. I was told, I don't know if I was told by Jason or if I was told by Cam, or maybe even another judge after that, that said player has a track record of calling judges over meaningless things like that. So it's kind of like one of those things where, okay, are you calling me because of that actually happening, or are you calling me because you're trying to manipulate the situation in your favor?
That's
Like,
the thing, right? That the
exactly. So
free win at Nats is big, right? So
exactly. So now knowing that, you know, you did it this round, you did it last round, you did it the round before, now that puts you in a bad limelight. You know, we're not going to sit there and like walk around your table and hawk you, but like it just puts you in a bad limelight because God forbid, you know, later on something does happen to where it makes you look suspicious. It just, you really look extra suspicious now to where it just puts you in that much worse of a situation. And that's what we try to look at everything in a um what's the word am I looking for? Like
objective,
yeah, a
objective light.
very yeah. Like I mean last year and this year I gave Joe Dat warnings. I don't care.
Good,
He's team captain for the Canadian team. I don't give a shit.
good. Fuck him. He's listening to this right
I
now. You see, you get your
I
damn
don't care.
warnings.
You
What do
can
you do
watch
for
this. Hey,
warnings? I
Joe
want to
Dat.
know.
This year he what was he playing? He was playing Gamma, and
Gamma.
he didn't trigger his leader's ramping thing properly. He
Joe
played
Dat,
the
this is
shit from
why.
he played the androids from the energy, and he didn't trigger his autos properly, so he got a warning for it. Last year he decided to leave his phone on the table 3, 4, 5 times and got warnings for it.
See, this is why you
Luckily
should have
this
played
year
Yellow
PPG
Sin.
allowed him to do it.
I was
Don't
about to
forget
kick
your
one of
autos
our
next time.
players out for not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
So-
we got told wear masks, and our
Rules
team
are
captain
rules.
even told everybody to wear masks. And then I think he's in the channel, but I'm not going to call out names.
So the one thing that I wanted to circle back on too, that I feel like it's a nugget of information for players out there, was one, props to Bandai for the end of time change to allowing a final lethal attack to go through. Because once again, that puts the onus of actually deciding the fate of a game on players and not just arbitrary time rules. But we still saw at least a little bit. It helped a lot. It helped immensely. But we still saw some people complaining about slow play with a minute or two left in overtime. And hey, my opponent's been slow playing this whole time. I would tell you this as a judge, that is like one of the most frustrating things to hear about. He's been slow playing the whole time. Well, unfortunately, and the reason it's frustrating is not because you're making this accusation, it's because I have no evidence of it as a judge. You can't call me in the last 60, 90, 120 seconds and say this has been going on for an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes, whatever it was, or hour 15, hour and 20 minutes. You can't say that and expect me to be like, yep, you're right. It sure as heck was. But it was minimal. It was there. But the more I watched for that, I came to this conclusion. The majority of games that went to time and had trouble finishing in overtime, it wasn't game 2, because once time's called in game 2, it's over. It wasn't game 3. It's almost always because of how long game 1 takes. Players spend they take such a slow pace. They don't play game 1 at a pace that would determine, hey, I want to, if necessary, I want to complete 3 of these in this time allotted. Like
Yeah.
I would recommend players work on your game 1 pace of play. If you work on your game 1 pace of play, you'll find that you're going to time and leaving it up to time rules to decide the fate of your tournament a lot less.
Yep.
Yeah, jeez. I was trying to
So
think with time rules. I went once to time. That's obviously the nature of the deck I was playing was an aggro deck. And I think the only time was against Blue Baby. But like, wow, game 1 times like that many that wow. That just I couldn't imagine just sitting across and just being like,
No,
like Jesus.
I'm not
Oh, you're
saying
result of that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying
it took so
there
long.
were a couple of game 1s that went the full time. I mean, we had Hatch players out there, we had Blue Baby players out there, but I'm saying how players play their game 1 is what is impacting their game 3 time.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you take 45 minutes for a game 1, now you've got 25 minutes plus 10 to do 2 more games. That's you're putting yourself behind. You have to
You're
start
setting
game
yourself up
1.
for failure.
You have to start game 1 thinking, I want to play at a pace that I'm making good decisions, but I'm also playing at a competitive pace is the best phrase for it.
And everybody is always complaining like, oh, well, my opponent always does this. Well, my opponent's always slow playing, or my opponent. Okay, well, that's all well and good. Well, if you don't call a judge, then your opponent's going to do it this whole entire time. Well, that's great. Cool. Whoopee. Well, if you, as a player, know how to play your deck, and you know how to play your deck against the meta decks, if you're playing Rogue, or even if you're playing a meta deck, if you know how to play against the Mirror, if you know how to play against, if you're playing Crimson, you know how to play against SS4, you know how to play against Sin, or you know how to play against Trunks Vita, or whatever it is. If you know how to play your deck against any other deck that you might think shows up, then you shouldn't have a problem. You know what your deck does. You know the in and outs of your deck. Cool. If your opponent does something that stops your play, you have plays B and C left. That's it. Do plays B and C. If you can't do B and C, then it's not your turn to do B and C. Pass your turn and your opponent goes. Like, stop taking 45 fucking minutes to decide whether or not to do D when D's not an option.
The whole time you're saying this stuff, I'm picturing Denzel Washington in Training Day, and he's like, "This shit is chess, not checkers."
Like, fuck, man.
You have to think. You have to think moves ahead, like constantly. You know the lines of play realistically. Right? You're sitting down in front of Red Sin. What is he going to do? He's going to charge a Red General GG. He's going to find 2 balls. He might play a 1-drop to find a ball and draw a card. Right? Like you know that move. You know that line of play. Do you have interactions with it? No. All right, cool. Let's like move this
Stop
fucking pace
thinking.
along. You should have already picked your fucking charge. Like that's the reason they caught certain players in Nats in 2019 for slow play because like some bitches literally have they like the turn before they would know that their energy that they were going to charge it'd be the upside down fucking card in their hand
Yep.
and they're sitting there watching and they're doing that shuffle shit. I'm fucking retarded. And then like they wait again and they wait again and they wait again to pick and charge a card. And it's like, bro, you took
It's
2
still
minutes to
upside.
charge something you knew during your opponent's turn.
Bro, it's
Like,
been upside down in your
come
hand for the last 2 minutes. Like, it's still the same card. It doesn't
but
just because it's upside down. It doesn't change.
people
So I
just
got
give each
two
other too
things.
many opportunities to slow play.
Go beer.
So I got 2 things. First one, this is a question because this are all judges here. Because like for me, I had opponents who were legitimately slow playing, but I just didn't care to call a judge. But what is like an appropriate amount of time to be like, yeah, this guy's slow playing?
There
Like,
isn't one. There
There
isn't
isn't?
an appropriate amount of time. It's like I'll steal what David Fashminer says all the time. He says we treat slow play the way the Supreme Court treats pornography. Can't really define it, but you'll know it when you see it. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? That's we spend time judging games, watching players play, and you can tell when someone's in a crucial point and they're legitimately thinking about a very impactful play. But you've got players that do things like shuffle their hands 72 times to charge an energy, and you see what they're doing, and they look at their phone to check the clock, or they look up if there's a clock on the wall.
Yeah.
We look for those things. I personally give 45 seconds to a minute, and then I don't say slow play. I'll say, hey, let's progress the game state. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And that's something that opponents can do is like, hey, I'd like to progress the game state. Hey, I'd like to uh, play this match, play this overtime at a pace so that we can reach a conclusion, so that it doesn't necessarily have to go to time rules.
Okay, that's a fair point. Because like I remember, I think it was during the Zenkai Cup, one of my opponents, I swung in, he's like no negates. I'm like, okay, combo this and this. So I was like 2 seconds, and he literally sat there, and he's like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he definitely needs to think about this because if he does this wrong, he loses. And then he sat there, and he's like this and this and this. And he's like, cards in hand. I'm like this, and I sat there. It was like only like 3-4 minutes. I'm sitting there waiting. I'm like. I know this is kind of slow playing, but I'm in a winning position. It's like even if he slow plays here, he loses. So okay,
Yeah, I mean, but if players are taking like the one thing that players have misinterpreted is the TRM, the tournament rules manual, does give an example of slow play of taking more than a minute to do something.
I
So
see,
that's an example. That's not part of the rules. So,
I
but
see.
too many players read that and say, oh, every 60 seconds, you have in 60 seconds or less, you have to make an action. That's not really what we're looking for.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And then the other thing too, I wanted to add on to like what Charles was saying with regards to like knowing your deck and everything. Like I as a player, that whole thing, I didn't have a single game go to time, and I was playing Gamma, and even the Gamma versus Gamma mirrors, which are slow as shit, but like you're going to turn 10 plus till the game's over. All of them went to game 3, but all of them ended before time was called. Like we all knew what the fuck we were doing. We knew exactly our lines of play and everything. Like the consistency was there.
Which
Like,
Yeah,
is
but you were
how
on
it
like
should
table
be.
like what 225?
bro, I was the bottom man. I was like, I was facing
That's why your games were pretty quick, bro. You guys were like, I'm just
Everyone
gonna play a battle card
let's
swing.
just get out of here, please. There's
Get outta
just like
here.
we're starving. Let's just get the hell out of here,
bro.
man.
Oh man, it was a good time though either way. But yeah, I got my ass kicked. But something else too, like I found too was like a lot of people did a lot of misplays, and I'm just like, you know what, fucking fix it, man. I don't care. Like, undo your misplay. Let's just fucking play, man. We don't give a shit. We already fucked up. Who cares? Let's just go.
At the bottom tables, I can see that a lot. Who
Yeah.
cares at that point in time? But when you're
Oh,
at top
oh,
tables,
Oh yeah.
It's completely different.
like that. It's like I've played with players before and been like, hey, you can't really do that. They're like, it's just a game, man. I was like, well, that's why the rules exist to tell us how to play the game. Like if we just say screw the
Yeah.
rules, then how do we play this game? I just slap my hand down and be like, I take all 8 of your life. Why?
Yeah, right.
Because I want to.
There's rules for a reason. Like I can't just pull out a gun and dump fucking 8 rounds of 9mm rounds into your fucking cards and say, "Well, I took out your 8 life. I win."
He's bringing it back
Like-
to the 9mm rounds that he has in the box in the corner. Yeah, he had
Like,
to.
I can't just dump a magazine into your cards and say I win.
I'll do it for
Your
Charles.
cards are
That's
marked
America.
now. It's
That's
disqualification.
9mm at a card tournament, America.
Yeah,
That's-
right.
Thank God
Your
they had
cards are
this.
marked.
Thank God they had the metal skin. instead.
Canadians attack each other with machetes. I don't want to hear this.
Exactly. That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't want to hear this.
Pouring
That sounds
maple
like
syrup on each
Florida.
other.
That sounds like a cold Florida. That's all it is.
Exactly.
I mean, he's not wrong. What do I always
He's got-
have with me? with
this fucking guy, the whole ride we get back, he's like, "Yo, you guys ever hear the Hamilton handshake?" The whole time when he's drunk the first night, that was an adventure at that
Oh my
fancy
God, that
restaurant.
dinner, man.
At dinner, we got the judges table over there, just having good conversation over here, beer, yeah, 3 shots of vodka, please, and then just
They gave me doubles.
They gave him doubles. He drank them down. He drank all 3 back to back. He's just like, they didn't give me the cranberry juice. I also think those were doubles. And then it was just gone for the night there.
Fuck.
Then I ordered more doubles.
Yeah, you ordered
Oh,
more.
God bless.
Fuck. But
What a
yeah,
disaster.
still amazing. Once again, kudos to you guys for having Saturday run so well. I guess we'll end it off soon, but we'll go into Sunday and kind of the last event and clean up. Like with Zenkai, did you guys? How many of you were running Zenkai, and how many were running the like side events on? Because I know they were doing Gunslinger, right? Still on the Sunday.
I think Dahan ran the side events, the gunslingers on Sunday.
Mm.
Or you did, Craig?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pulled me off after I
Okay.
think the split to top 8. So yeah, after they moved to top 8, they've split me off to run the gunslinger stuff.
And I
And
ran the Zenkai Cup the whole time. The whole time, like until 11 something Sunday night, after being there at 7 a.m. again.
You
Yeah,
ran it pretty well.
yeah.
I was exhausted at the end. Exhausted.
Bandai forgot, or not Bandai, but Machado forgot his stamp that goes on your forehead. It's like a 5-letter word.
It was well. I mean, to be fair, like I reminded Ben and them because I've been judging for a while now, and I've head judged online events, but I'd never head judged any IRL events, and so I wanted to get that Boy Scout badge, that judge badge on my shoulder, say I did an IRL event. But it was the kind of thing where bad math happened. They're like, 30-minute rounds times 8 rounds, that's 4 hours. So we should be able to start it at 3 o'clock and end it by 8.
Good one.
Well, what about the 5 minutes of overtime for every single one? What about transitions? What about time extensions for judge call? Honestly, we ran it at about an average of 45 minutes a round. Which is 35, and then we just had time extensions sometimes. So I felt like we kept a good pace, but yeah, like they told the venue we were going to be out by 8. It was
A great
bad
lie.
math. Someone should have
11?
taken their someone should have taken their socks off and counted used their toes too.
But being the head judge for that event, and you're saying I didn't know this was your first time doing it. How did that feel being on that end instead of being like at every table and just being the head judge running everything for the Zenkai Cup?
I mean, like I said, I've head judged some online events
sorry,
before.
yeah, in IRL.
So I've kind of had that experience. It's like in one way it's a little more boring because because one of the things that you want to do as a head judge is you want to let floor judges take the calls so that they can make a ruling, and then if a player would like to appeal, they have someone to appeal to. If I go out there, if they call a judge and I go out there and as the head judge and I make the call, they have no one to appeal to because the head judge's ruling is final for that. So you end up standing around a lot more and watching and waiting for your services to be needed. So, but other than that, it's there's a little I don't know if Charles he did the KC event up in that regional up there, but there's
Yeah.
also there's a little bit of added pressure of like, man, I like if there's an appeal, I want to get it right. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest
Well, I
thing.
was the only for Kansas City because we didn't really have a lot of people there. I was the only judge, so they didn't have a chance to appeal for shit. So whatever I said, that was it. And
The law.
like it sucks to suck, dude. Like
He was wearing
the
his
hammer
Judge
came
Dredd
down,
mask.
man. Whether I was right or wrong, man, that hammer came down, and they had to deal with it. So, and it was funny because Fashbinder was like, "Look, man, I know it's your first event, so I'll be on call when you need me." Bro, I called that man, and he was taking a hard nap. I was like, "Oh, Fashbinder, I need you." And 3 hours later, he fucking calls me back. He's like, "Sorry, man, I was taking a nap." I was like, "Oh, bro, fuck, dude."
See,
I
what's
already
funny is
answered it now.
that was hilarious during the event. We had a judge call on like round 1 or 2 on Master Roshi, and the skill at the end of it, and it was one where I had like the judge made a ruling. They appealed it. I come over and I read it, and I had my ruling, but I was like, as I talked to other people, I was like, man, let's come together as a judge staff and discuss this because we really need to figure it out. And then not only that, but I was like, well, let me find other L2 judges that can help me with this call. Well, I couldn't ask Ben, I couldn't ask David because they were on the finals match on stream. You know, they were maintaining integrity there. And then like all the other people that had like a lot of experience head judging had like gone to take a bathroom break or went to grab something to eat or something. And I was like, oh man. So we came through and we looked at the actual way it was written and we say this is the way it's written. There's nothing in the rule book to contradict this. So I issued a ruling based on the, I guess the, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? The consensus above all the judges, and said this is what we're gonna do. And it cost one, and it was literally top 10 tables in round 2 or 3 to determine the winner based on how this played out. It was going to determine the winner of this ruling. And it was the part with the Master Roshi where it's like if you sack the field spell, the field card, for every Z energy for every Z energy card you have that is a pupil, a turtle pupil that with a different name, it gains plus 5k and double strike. But they wrote it as a solid no punctuation between those. So explicitly reading it, it appears that means for every instance of that card, it would get 5k and double strike. So if you had 3, you'd get 15k and 3 instances of double strike. Well, that's the way I was like, that doesn't make sense. Why would you need 3 instances of double strike? I know there's cards that can take them away, but that doesn't make any sense. So I was gonna say it's just the 5k, and he had 0 cards in his Z energy. So he's like, do I still get the double strike? And so I was gonna say no, you still get the double strike, no plus 5k, and that was gonna give the Roshi player the winner because he was gonna be able to take 2 life. But then when we talked about it, like we end up, more people were like, I think it is together because of how they wrote it. So we're like, okay, you have to have something to get the double strike and the 5k. And so it was only a single strike, which put them at same number of life, which meant it went to battle area and the Roshi player lost. And then after that, like many rounds later, I finally got to talk to like Ben and Fash about it, and they're like, no, it's 5k for each one. Double strike is just a do as much as you can part. So the ruling that I gave ended up costing one guy the win, and he should have gotten the win.
Damn.
And that's the part where I'm just like I felt like I handled it correctly, but I wish I could have gotten the ruling right at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I mean, you learn from it, and you adjust.
No, damn, I didn't even know that about Roshi. I thought in same way with your instance where you'd have to have something there to give the instance of double strike. But hey, learning more in this talk. And then Charles, you had the other experience of being at the judge at the table in the top 32, right? Did you do
Yeah.
double
So
judge all the way from
we were
32, or was it
yeah.
when
So
you
I stayed in the top tables the whole entire time. I stayed in top 30, from 32 until the very end. I watched Andrew Duvall play against was it Eon or Eric? I don't remember which Hill twin it was. I'm so bad at remembering the two of them. Whichever one it was.
a hill twin that
Um,
works?
yeah.
Insert first name.
Yeah. Insert first name there. I watched them two play. Um, and then I watched the guy on Super Players play against Peter Katani, and Peter Katani took that game. And then I watched the Trunks Cheetah player, play against Peter Katani for the third place, and I was on that table for watching them play third place. And that was a great game for me to watch personally because me and Peter we BS online every so often, but we met in Miami at PPG's Invitational back last March or so when Baby and Blue Yellow Icarus was a thing. And then Khan, actually I met him last year at Nats, but he plays at my old locals back in New York. So his whole support team and his whole support system is my friends that I essentially grew up in the Dragon Ball community with when I first started playing back in New York before I moved out of the state and came back to Kansas. So it was good to see, even though I never played with him physically back there, it was good to see like an old stomping ground player win and place third place type thing. So for me, it was like more than just a congratulations. It was like, like an emotional portion of it type thing, obviously. And obviously, we had Faisal on the team place. What he made top 8, but what did he get? Like 6th place?
Fifth. Oh, wasn't it fifth?
5th? Was it 5th?
Yep.
So that was another emotional portion of it for the weekend. So it was good. But yeah, it was good. It was definitely a solid weekend, and then obviously you have Andrew, the Machine Duvall,
Back to
taking
back, baby.
back to back. That man's a fucking, I don't know what the hell's going through his head, man. That guy's a machine.
Demons. That's what's going through his head.
The fuck, dude. I don't know. Fuck, man. I want to know, like, on average, like, how many games and hours that dude puts into testing a week. Like, does he test, like, is he starting to test now? Like, after Worlds is done, is he going to keep testing and keep playing until, like, next year's season starts? Does he take a break?
Like
how, like, what is his fucking
he's
thing that
testing.
he could just be like, Oonga Boonga, I win fucking Nats again. Look at me.
Maybe
Look at the size of my pee-pee.
Maybe he's literally right now. He's not testing. He's brainstorming what's going to come out set 23. He's just thinking right now. He's just like, you know what? That sounds like a good leader. I'm gonna play around cards with this leader right here in my mind.
Maybe
Ben,
when he designed that card, Bandai was like, "Look, dude, this is everything we're gonna release. Don't tell anybody. We want you to win with blue. So here."
Well, I'll tell you this. These are things, the side stories I've seen since he won Nats and Worlds last year. He jumped over to My Hero, and like the first major regional they had, he topped it. And he's already I've heard the tales that he's already grinding and ready to hit these treasure cups up for One Piece and come out swinging and taking over that game too. Like he's into all of the, like, he is, like, there's just something in his brain about turning cardboard sideways and seeing all those words. And he's I don't know if speaking of chess from earlier, I don't know if y'all seen that movie, The Queen's Gambit, where she would imagine the chess playing out on the ceiling. I think he just picks up a deck and like reads through the cards, and then he visualizes
He's
every
like the main
matchup there
character
is.
from Blue Lock. What soccer anime that's out right now?
Haven't watched, but I'll take your word for it.
Kid's a demon.
And then, hey, with that said as well, props to Robert Rizzi for getting his Worlds invite
100%.
by flying over to a whole nother continent and saying, yeah, this is gonna be mine. Almost missed it day one. He barely squeaked in at 11th, and then he took the top cut.
My man fucking drops like $3,000 on a last minute flight out to
Jesus
fucking Australia
Christ.
and goes, "Nah, this is America now."
Yeah.
He looked at him and said, "You guys weren't gonna win Worlds anyway. Let me just take care of it for you."
Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Could you imagine though?
Crocodile Dundee.
Did y'all see that meme that I made with
yes, with the Hercule card?
Hercule card?
But here's the funny thing: is
World Champ Strikes Back.
If he wins Worlds, if Rizzi is to win Worlds, let's think about this, right? It'll be an American player, but Oceania will be able to say we have the world champion representing Australia.
Oh,
that's true. They gotta back him up now.
Should we
now
put the Australian flag in this background, waving?
Yep.
Yeah. They're just like, here's our representative from
dual
Oceania.
citizenship. He now has to apply for dual citizenship.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he's a veteran too.
So
he served in our military, but then so that just makes it even funnier that he flew over there and he's like representing us, but also representing them. So like it's like this whole like discombobulated like fuckery.
I found that shit fucking extremely hilarious. I used to live in Australia, so I'm like, Wait a minute. Oh my god, my homeboys would fucking lose their minds about this shit.
It's funny as
Well,
fuck.
yeah, like during the whole thing, right? They're probably obviously pissed. They're just like, "What the hell? We let an American fucking come in here and win this
Oh,
shit."
they're
Now they're
probably
just like,
so mad.
"Oh fuck, we gotta support this guy. We need Australia to win this shit."
Yeah, right.
Rizzi said they were pretty chill, like over there, like in person though.
I mean, they
Was
probably
they-
realized they weren't going to win the World Cup, so they might as well win this kind of
It
cup.
was just more online grumbling than anything else.
Well, and I also think, I mean, the only time I've ever seen them get salty about North American players is like when there were online events and we were region locking them, but then there would be like North American players that would show up. Like I used to be allowed to play in North American online or in Oceania online events, but it was because I was like judging so many of the North American ones I never got to play here. So I'd be like, I would go to their TO and be like, hey, I just want to play. And like the one event where I was like kicking butt, there was a whole bunch of grumbling, and so I was just like, I'll bow out. I'm not trying to cause any drama.
That's also online too, right? People got a big
Yeah.
mouth online in person. They're just like, fuck,
Oh,
dude,
everybody's-
you paid $3,000 to get the fuck over here. You know what? Fuck, there's your entry to be a citizen for a couple of days.
Everybody's always got a big mouth online.
That's the nature of the internet.
No, Australians are usually pretty friendly people though. They are.
Yeah, no, they'll call you a cunt and then they'll get on with the day. That's how you do it. It's a term of endearment.
That's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's like hello here.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what up, you cunt? You want to get some fucking beers, mate? Yes, you mate.
Whatever he just said, I agree.
I feel like I think that was like the Australian version of Boomhauer.
But we're reaching the 1 hour mark. I know people got to go to bed. Any final questions?
This old man right here.
Yeah. Any final questions, either Beer or any of you guys have or any final statements you guys want to say? Shoot them now or forever hold your peace.
Have fun in this dry spell till more regionals and events pop up.
I got a big one.
Let's hear it.
I got a big one, and it's a lot of people talk about.
I think we should talk to your wife to verify.
She's in the bed waiting for me, so I'm trying to get this done quick.
We saw the dog.
So, but no, a lot of people talk about judge comp. A lot of people talk about the pay. I promise you guys, it's not what you think it is. We put in just in the 2 days I worked, I put in over 27 hours of the work, right? The comp came out to like a little over $20 an hour for what we worked, but we got no sleep. We felt it for a week afterwards. The other thing is that you guys get to go enjoy an event. We go work. If we make one bad call, it ruins us for weeks, months, at a time. We could ruin your entire Nats experience. We could ruin your entire regional experience, like that weight that we carry. So before you say you want to be a judge, sit down and take like a mental check of yourself and see if you can survive that kind of hit. Because like I made a small error in one of mine that inevitably I went and got another, not an appeal, but I went and asked for, and it came back and it turned it the other way, and it could have completely ruined somebody's Nats experience. And that weight to sit on your shoulders is tough. It's very, very tough. So before you sit there and you want to talk about the pay that we get and the things that we get, understand it's not much more than the entry that we get. We do it because we want to help support this game, and we get to see all of you guys enjoy the experience. I think that's what we're there for.
Yep. I genuinely have a blast doing this, and I get to meet everybody in the community as much as people think that I'm an a-hole over the computer. I mean, I'm not much different in person, but it's a little bit more funny in person.
It's true. You can taste the
camera
humor in
adds
person.
an extra like 6 inches to your height.
Yeah. It's better when I lay down. I'll get like 7 when I lay down.
Oh fuck.
Sideways.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all be good. I'm going to see my wife.
Well,
Love, peace, and chicken grease. We're out.
that was
Appreciate it.
Beautiful way to end it. Thank you so much for coming in and doing this shit, you guys.
Appreciate you.